One thing I would encourage families to look into is mom or dad may be independent now, and there's a reason why you started looking into retirement living. So when you are looking for a retirement home, my recommendation is to look for a home that ages in place.
In this video, you'll meet Michelle Bergman, who's the Community Relationship Manager at Queen's Estate in Toronto, Ontario. And in this video, you'll hear about what's different about the new parent company of Queen's Estate, Metta Lifestyles. You'll also hear about how Queen's Estate likes to approach caring for multiple levels of care. And you'll also hear about the 3 questions that Michelle would ask if she was looking for a retirement residence. So why
Good.
don't you start by telling us 3 things that you love about your job?
Oh, I'm passionate about my job. Um, Easily put, I love our elders. I'm a huge advocate for certainly our elders and the young people today. Um, and I love their stories. Everyone has a story, and there's so much wisdom in their stories. And I do feel the pain, certainly having been there myself at one time with my parent, my mother. I feel the pain when they are in need and, feeling the pressure of making an immediate decision. So I like being support to families and to their elders.
And what drew you to this line of work? You just hinted at the passion that you have for it, what was your journey to lead you into this field and ultimately to Queen's Estate?
Yes. So my background is hospitality, sales and marketing, and I did very, very well at my jobs, but there was always something lacking. And I had a girlfriend actually that was well immersed into the industry, and she suggested I throw in my hat, which I did, and I never looked back. Again, I can relate to the families that are calling for their loved ones because I too have had to do that decision making with my family for my mother.
And for you, what out of the options that people have in Toronto, quite a few to look at their retirement options, what makes Queen's Estate different?
So what makes us really different, Carly, that I noticed immediately was the size of the company. After coming from large brands and going to a smaller brand, I immediately noticed how nimble we are. I was blown away when I needed a decision and it meant walking in or calling my general manager or leaning on my support team. It was instant rather than red tape that I was so accustomed to in the past of getting an answer. And it's not one size fits all in this business. And my belief is that a lot of the larger brands are one size fits all. This is how we do it, and there's no think out of the box. We're very much think out of the box and will investigate to see, can we do it better and how can we do that? So I think that's probably the biggest. And the fact that there is room for advancement. Joining Metta Lifestyles, it's a company that I want to grow with, and I'm quite confident in saying that I'm doing well, and I know that my work is valued and recognized. I'm not a number, I'm a name, which is really different.
So that nimbleness that you mentioned right off the top, obviously, greatly impacts your work at Metta Lifestyles and with Queen's Estate. But in terms of the residents on the ground and people who are looking at their options, looking at the kind of experience that their loved one or their family member is going to be having at the residence they ultimately choose, what does that nimbleness look like on the ground? What's an example of how that has affected life in the residence?
Yes, it really has. It does certainly translate directly to the resident. So for example, we'll take dementia, for example, which we specialize in. So, we have the skill set, we have the equipment, we know how to address dementia. But dementia will react a little differently to each patient. So we're very person-centric. And we do profiling, and I know this is standard in the business, but we really do a deep dive in our profiling to get to know the likes and dislikes. We bring the team together and they all provide profiles on a resident. So we go a little further than, what's your favorite food and what's your favorite activity. We're looking to stretch that a little bit on have you tried and would you try to bring new creative thinking and activities to the residents. And flexibility, again, being a smaller company and growing, we can adjust, we can fine tune so that it is more person-centric, it's more inclusive for that individual resident and family.
So, what are some of the events and trips and outings and features that you like to offer residents at Queen's Estate?
In the past, we all, we grouped together and did activities, Carly, but right now, unfortunately, we're not able to draw a large audience, but we're still carrying out activities and we're still moving in people. And yes, there is a quarantine period, but we make it so that it is somewhat seamless. For example, a resident that is quarantined may be in his suite more than he or she cared for. We recognize that. So our team goes to the resident inside their suite and does the profiling and has those conversations, again, to ward off loneliness and depression. But again, it's getting to know our people under our roof, being people-centric. We've had great successes on all of our 7 floors. We have beautiful lounges, lots of bright light, and beautiful seating similar to a living room. So we gather, of course, we do our distancing, but we gather in smaller groups so that, again, we're COVID safe, but we're able to carry out those smaller activities on each level. So we're still finding our ways. And again, I think that's a perfect example of us thinking out of the box and forging through regardless of the times, but keeping our residents safe.
And do you have a favorite item on the menu?
Oh, talking about our menu, if you haven't checked out our menu, you really should check out our menu. We are, without question, 5-star. It's a Red Seal chef. Peter Ho is our regional culinary manager. Our menu is phenomenal. I love what Peter brings to the table in the sense of it's not your standard static meat and potatoes. Peter has a diverse background, and it certainly shows. He will, I think one of my favorite that he does, he's done lobster, a lobster concoction with, I believe it's fresh made buns and fresh coleslaw. It reminded me of the first time I went to Halifax, and it was beautiful. And I might want to add as well, I'm really proud of the culinary team because they're purchasing, of course, we do have a strategic partner, but the outside of the box thinking again, Peter is able and does go to local farms and negotiates, and a lot of our fresh produce comes from local farms, including some meat as well. So it's nice that we're a Canadian company, all Canadian, and we're doing business largely with Canadians.
And is the way that the menu is built, does it take into account different dietary needs and different nutrition needs? And can the residents also influence what goes on the menu depending on their preferences or something that they've always loved for their whole life? If they have an old recipe or something like that.
Yes, bring those old recipes. We do want to know about them. Indeed, Queensview is capable and does carry out specialized diets. So, and that the inclusion runs from, Mr. John loves his mother's homemade casserole, would love the chef to make it. We can do that. And again, promote who the recipe came from. And again, just another layer of offerings that are unique. We can certainly address as well for complex care or diabetic care. We do menus specific for any dietary need. Puree, for example, when it's done, it looks like something like, give me that plate. It looks very appetizing. It's well presented on the plate, but most importantly, it's made in the way that the resident needs to eat. So yes, thickened fluids, everything from mincing right through to puree foods and to those special recipes. We can do it all. We do it all.
And to speak directly about the level of care that you provide at Queen's Estate, can you describe the levels that are available, specifically if you're moving in, independent, still have an energetic lifestyle, but then your needs escalate depending on how long you are living at the residence?
Yes. So At Queen's Estate, we have 120 suites, 7 floors, and the specialty is assisted living and memory care. It's not to suggest that we don't have independent living, because we do. Healthy people move into our building as well. So independent living, one is independent, can come and go as they choose. Meals, they select a time that they'd like to eat. Right now we are running on 1 meal time, but we are growing quickly. So we will soon be introducing a second meal time. So independent living is we do it very well. But one thing I would encourage families to look into is mom or dad may be independent now, and there's a reason why you started looking into retirement living. Maybe those small hints, those details that the family is picking up, and the doctor's advised as well. Just can't live on your own anymore. But how long will one be independent? So when you are looking for a retirement home, my recommendation is to look for a home that ages in place, that is not just independent, but also offers assisted living and memory care, if that is something that's been charted by the doctor. And most importantly, that when your time comes, that no one can guarantee a placement, of course, but that you're working well with the community, and that community is lining up mom or dad. They too can see a digress in their health and have made future plans for, be it assisted living or memory care. And I'll also add, Carly, something such as incontinence, for example. A retirement home may take in a new resident into independent, for example, and maybe that resident at the time was toiling in on their own, but it could take one bad flu or stroke, what have you, and all of a sudden that one resident is no longer able to toilet on his own. So if it's an independent, assisted, or memory care, doesn't matter the level, we can address it, similar to a 1-person and a 2-person assist. Really important questions to ask. Is it okay? Or what are the feelings if mom or dad were incontinent? What would that mean to us? And of course, mom right now is a 1-person assist. Is that all you offer? Do you have a Hoyer lift? And do you do 2-person assist? My findings, I am receiving those calls from the hospital and from families that may have placed mom elsewhere or at home, and their time has run out. They've been tasked to go and identify a new home that can address more care.
And that being said, is there a level of need that surpasses what you're able to provide at Queen's Estate, or is it structured so that it can incorporate palliative care and take their residents through to the end of their life?
Yes, indeed, we can take one from palliative stage to end of life, and do it Metta style with dignity. But I will say our commitment is not to have the initial intake as palliative. If one is staying with us, we are committed to the end, if that's the wishes of the family and the patient. Restrictions, there really aren't many. We specialize in complex care and memory care, but I will say one restriction certainly could and would be behaviors of physical behaviors. Again, we've proven that in time, we will work with the hospitals and work with the families on medication adjustments, and to see that change. And once we see a change where it's no longer a risk for our other residents, which we have to look out for, and of course our employees, we're then in a better position to bring that person in. So there's very few limitations. Behaviors, I would say physical would be one. And then of course feeding. We do one-on-one feeding, but we can't do NG tube feedings, for example. It's my understanding that's more of a hospice environment or more of a hospital environment.
And how do you handle communications between staff, wellness staff, and the resident, as well as the family members outside of the residence, when there are updates in terms of a resident's needs, or maybe simply that events are happening and you want to keep them informed about what's going on inside resident life?
Yes. So it's all hands on deck when it comes to communication. The lines are open, And our recreation lead, she's got a roster that she emails out on a weekly basis if there's any special events, notifying families, that they can attend, be it online, and for their buy-in for mom or dad. So that's one way we do. We also have on a health, the care level, care plan level, we have care conferences that include the activities director as well as our charge nurse and the family, so that the family can understand better, where mom or dad was when they arrived and where they are now and what is foreseen in the future. So all the steps along the way, one is involved in that decision making and has a good understanding of why those decisions are being made. Communication is absolute key. So by email, by phone, and by those conference calls, we make it happen.
And when families are making these decisions to potentially move into a retirement residence, brings with it a lot of emotions, and often there's some disagreement about whether this is the right time or if this move needs to happen at all. So how do you like to address those dynamics in families that are coming to you with these questions, and what's your advice?
It is a complex decision, and for some, the need is present, and it's so strong that it is instinctive that you must follow through. And for others, it might be more of a want than a need. For those, my coaching style is, to hear the voice and to be able to assist in those steps. I always remind the families, there's a reason why we started having this conversation, and not to lose sight of that, because we all have good days and we all have bad days. And it is a fact that if I don't want something to happen, if I can easily mask that, as our elders sometimes do, to maintain that, what they know, their balance. 9 times out of 10, Carly, the family members that were distraught and were overthinking maybe, or feeling guilty, 9 times out of 10, within a few months, they come back and they say, you were absolutely right. I should have done this. Should have done it a year ago. She's loving it, or she's getting exactly what we need. And that burden is off our shoulders. Now we have the time to spend with mom and dad, that time, quality time. I'm coming in and I'm doing things that I wanted to do with her. She's my mother. I don't want her to be, I don't want to be her mother, right? So it's really, there's a lot of thinking, a psychology part to it, but it's really putting yourself in the customer's shoes. This has nothing to do with me or the team. It has everything to do with where they're at. Some feel stuck, and is to have that knowledge and empathy to know how to help them move forward.
And so if a resident has chosen to move in and perhaps they're having a difficult time making the transition, or they're on the shyer side, how do you like to welcome them into the community and make them feel like they are enabled and empowered to take part in everything that you offer there?
Well, every individual is just that. They have individual needs and desires, and not everybody is a chatty Cathy or wants to come to all activities. So again, it goes back to really understanding the person and what motivates the person and their likes and their personality types. And again, our recreation lead, Amy, is spectacular at doing that. She and her team do amazing profiles. She's always coaching and always teaching us as a team. So it really is understanding what that prospect or resident may thrive in doing, and planting a seed and making it happen where it's not daunting. It's not a challenge for a resident to come and maybe play cards or learn maybe how to bake something, or maybe it's a movie, but it is engaging periodically until they feel, I want to do that again. So it really is individual.
what is the relationship between Queen's Estate and the rest of the surrounding community? Is there opportunities to go out and explore and vice versa? Are there opportunities for members of the community to engage and participate in Queen's Estate activities?
I'm really glad you asked that question, Carly, because with my position, I am actively looking for an association, a neighborhood association in the area. We're on Queens Drive, Toronto, North York. I would like to very much partner with other organizations that are for the good of the neighborhood. And I will be as bold as to say, after COVID, or maybe we again put on our thinking hats and together come up with solutions on how we can do this. We have space inside of Queen's Estate, be it our parking lot, or be it our private dining room, or maybe in our lower level where we carry out a lot of our activities. But to come together for the greater cause of our elders and our youth, and maybe it's a meeting, or maybe it's a breakfast network, or maybe it's I don't know exactly what it looks like. Maybe it's a vendor fair in our parking lot, but again, for the greater cause and to join forces so that that awareness is there.
And is there a story that stands out in your mind about a resident that you've met at Queen's Estate?
Oh, yes. Yes. I'm going to mention one gentleman. I'll just say his first name is S. Lovely, lovely gentleman, very stoic, very advanced in dementia, just a super soul. And it was just a pleasure to see him every single day. And I can go on. I can say the same about another resident. I can't give a first name, but I can say it starts with a G. You know, every day, G has a smile that is so genuine. And she's got such a good soul. Now, these residents, I personally did not bring in. They were at Queen's Estate when I arrived, but lovely souls and just a pleasure. And again, it reiterated really quickly why I'm doing what I'm doing for a living, because I love it.
And looking ahead at the next 5 or 10 years, say if somebody's joining the residents now, is there something coming up that they would also be able to look forward to? Or is there an area that you hope to expand at Queen's Estate, or you see expanding in the future?
Well, within our own community of Queen's Estate, we're constantly putting together different activities, especially now with COVID. You really have to change it up. It's no longer face-to-face. So we're doing, of course, Zoom meetings. We're, YouTubing. We're taking pictures, fantastic pictures. We've got makeup days, spa days, I should say, where the opportunity has never been better. A lot of our elders don't have that one picture of themselves that they can be very proud of. That's a little harder to answer, though, Carly, with COVID, because we do have those restrictions of what we want to do and what we can do. But it does not stop us from brainstorming and creating those special moments and events at Queen's Estate.
And finally, what's your advice for those in their search right now?
I think the biggest is to take a deep breath, right? And to know that there's help. I would instruct families, to search and compare 3 communities. I think after you go any more than 3, I think they will become convoluted, and it just becomes tiresome. But 3 communities you should be investigating after you've asked the question, do you provide age and place? And then from there, look in it with the eyes of mom and dad, not necessarily of what you like. So the swanky, large communities, that have very large front entrances and long corridors, they look absolutely stunning. But if I'm in a wheelchair or if I'm in a walker, it looks good, but will it serve me so well? To get from the dining room to my suite, how long is it going to take me to get there? And yes, I may have that assistance, but I need purpose. And if I can do it on my own with my walker, that's the best solution. So look from the lens of mom or dad, look at 3 and ask that question, those intelligent questions. Do you age in place? What happens if mom or dad become incontinent? And of course, are you able to do a 2-person assist? Those are imperative questions so that you're not brought back to the same table that you're sitting at to negotiate mom or dad to go into a retirement home.